to the new and improved Hockey Buzzcast. So yeah, we have this was not our own choosing, but we like it. We like it a lot. It's so we went from, go ahead.
Screw Google Hangouts because they decided not to keep going with it, and they shut it down as of August 1st. So this is pretty cool. We get we get sort of the what's the show on ESPN, Russ, that where they have the
horn.
Around the horn. You have the around the horn look here.
We do.
Or we can do this where it's like a split 3 screen.
That's pretty awesome.
Tell us what you prefer.
Yeah, let us know.
Or we can have this where I'm located. I'm in size here in terms of level of importance to the show.
Right. Right. He's usually important. And there's all different kinds of things we can do. We're going to learn more about it as we go, but we just wanted to let you guys know what's going on and definitely give us your opinions on it. I think it's good. At least we know one thing for sure. It does work. So that's good.
Yes.
But live.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
So, NHL referee Garrett Rank over the weekend won the 117th Western Amateur Golf Tournament. Now, this is a very prestigious golf tournament. Guys who usually win this immediately turn pro. And he is just going back to his referee job. There's more about it on sportsology.com if you want to read about it. I was amazed, though, because and Eck, I think you've agreed, and I think, Mike, you've agreed. We've always said NHL referees are in shape. You have to be in some sort of physical condition to be an NHL referee. You can't just fake it. Sure. And you know what? This guy won a golf tournament, a very prestigious golf tournament. That's impressive to me.
That's really awesome. And you know, and they love to golf, right? We know that too.
Yeah. And he's 31 years old. So it's like he really could join the tour if he wanted to.
It's really impressive. It was the guy who actually was it? There was another guy I thought who was a real one of the other referees that was a super golfer. I'm trying to remember who it was. I don't know if you can think of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, but but obviously a lot of hockey players. Like I remember Dan Quinn was like a great golfer.
Oh yeah,
that was a big thing with him.
Well, here's a little bit of a hockey tie-in. The tennis tour. I think it was the City Open. I think it was. I don't know where it was located, but the winner of the City Open this weekend was Jessie Pegula, the daughter of Tim and Terry and Kim Pegula, the owner of the Sabres and Bills.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've actually talked to her before. She's a really she's a cool person.
And she's really into social media. She gets into it during the football and hockey season.
X
frozen.
That's cool. That's another nice hockey tie-in. And there's been other ones, clearly, but that's really, I didn't know about that.
Yes, David Mascot in the chat says Mike's gray shirt takes up half of his window. Well, I can switch to this so it only takes up a third of the window there if you want to.
While we watch Frozen Eck.
Yes. Well, okay. We'll remove him from the stream so he comes in. There he comes. All right. Well, it wouldn't be one of our shows if we didn't have some sort of difficulty, but sure. I think it's going to work pretty decently, but let me try to. There he goes. No, just a little, and I'm sure baseball. Nobody wants to talk about it, but Russ probably wants to talk a little bit about it because the Mets are red hot right now.
Hottest team in baseball.
Now, did they come back and win the game? They were down in one game in Pittsburgh on the weekend. Did they keep their winning streak? Are they like 9 in a row? Or did they lose?
No. They lost the one, but they won again yesterday. So right now they're 3.5 out, I think, but they still have like 3 teams to jump. So yes, it's not easy.
Yeah, and the Yankees swept the Red Sox, which was a beautiful thing. But I have never seen a team in professional sports, hockey, football, baseball, basketball, that has been more injured.
And Aaron Hicks is out now too.
Well, no. They lost two players in the doubleheader. They lost Hicks one game. Encarnacion got hit by a pitch, had a hairline fracture of his wrist. And then yesterday, Gleyber Torres got hurt. He had some sort of core muscle problem. So yeah, it's really, really bizarre. I've never seen a team, and they keep winning, but I've never seen a team more injury plagued in my life than the Yankees. But Acker, you're back here.
I'm back here.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started then.
Things are circling. Sorry.
I'm trying to produce a Phil Collins video, I think. That's what I think.
Goodness gracious. 1 second. Sorry. I apologize. We have a little. 1 second. Let's.
What was the one he did with just the flashlight? Hold
on. Sorry, guys.
That
1 second.
Mama. Thank you. Yes.
Goodness.
You've got the YouTube open. That's what you have to. You have to close that.
I know. I got two things open. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to get the chat room open so we can interact.
No, don't worry about the chat. I got the chat.
We got it now. We're done. I'm done. I got it. I figured it out. I just had to figure out how to do it. I apologize, guys. We're good now.
All right. Yeah. Let's get started.
All right. What's the date? Oh, the date. And usually the date, man. Now I got to find the date again.
You can't mess it up now.
It's right there. It's right there. I can see it. Yep. We're good. Okay.
You can't read. You can't screw it up.
Hello, Hockey World. It's Monday, August 5th, 2019.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm the new and improved Russ Cohen.
And I am Eklund. We need to get more light on you, Russ.
I don't have my light on, but I'm in a different spot in the house. So
we just need in general, we need more light on you. I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in the comings and goings in the hockey world. And we are, if you're watching us live on YouTube for the first time, this is a new format for us. It's kind of fun. It doesn't much matter if you're listening to us because it all sounds the same. But yeah, here we are. So yeah, we have a signing to start off today with right off the bat. Obviously, Kevin Shattenkirk is now officially a Tampa Bay Lightning, almost completing that great Rangers defensive core from what was it, 2016 maybe?
Well, it's ironic.
2014.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's ironic because when Shattenkirk got bought out by the Rangers last week, I was projecting a couple teams that I think would have been interested, and Tampa was sort of tops on the list because they didn't re-sign Girardi. They lost Stroman. That's a couple right-hand shots. They were heavily dependent on young defensemen at the beginning of the year, Cal Foote and Sergachev and Cernak. We basically figured that Shattenkirk was going to go someplace where he could shine for a year, probably take low money. He actually got more money than I thought he would. I thought he was going to have to take, maybe $1 million. He gets $1.7 million, 1.75 out of the Lightning, and that's real money because it's the non-tax state in Florida. I'm going to write something for Hockey Buzz after the show about, this is an opportunity that a team like Toronto missed out because they're weak on the right side too, and they didn't jump at the opportunity because of the Marner situation ongoing. But I think this is a great signing, and I was telling Russ before he started the show, I think Shattenkirk is going to take a little bit of the ice time weight off of Victor Hedman, and not 5-on-5, but power play time, because Shattenkirk is still a great power play point guy and a good quarterback. And, now you won't have to have Hedman out there on every first power play. He can play a little less special teams and more 5-on-5.
Yeah, he's going to be healthier this year. He'll play power play. Even if he only replicates last year with 28 points, you got a bargain. A guy off the street costs you almost as much. And you got a guy with all this experience and definitely skating ability. He'll be healthier. His knee will be better. This is a situation where you have to hope Jeff Gordon did the right thing here because there's a couple things at play here. The first one is they gave Tampa another player. So if Tampa ever does win the Stanley Cup, you really can thank the Rangers in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
right.
They gave Tampa another player. When you buy out players, teams sometimes suffer from this where the guy goes somewhere else and they resurrect their career. We've seen it happen over and over. The situation with this is at the draft, we know the Rangers tried to trade Nemestikov, but how hard? Did they offer a draft pick or 2 draft picks to maybe get him off the books? I don't know.
Right.
Did they? Yeah. Do they know if Kreider is extending? Because if Kreider's not extending, I would have traded him already and cleared the space and kept Shattenkirk. Nobody's going to do this. The point is, had you bought out Brendan Smith, nobody would have picked up Brendan Smith this quick. But Kevin Shattenkirk, you knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, and for Shattenkirk, you can go and do it for almost no money. You can actually try to like resurrect a career out of this very easily and put yourself. I mean, by putting yourself on Tampa, you're putting yourself in a position to succeed for sure. So, and
there's another feature we can put the comments in the chat on the screen here where people can see. Right. And Funky Colds, as you can read, says maybe he chose Tampa Bay over the Leafs. Well, that's another situation where the Leafs are in limbo because of the Marner situation, that they might not be able to offer Shattenkirk something akin to what Tampa did, and that's the problem. And also, I think, and Aki, you can probably elaborate on this, is the fact that if they sign Shattenkirk for $1.75 million, that probably means they have an idea of how much they're going to have to pay to sign Point. And I wouldn't have thought that if they didn't know in general how close they were going to, how much money they were going to need for Point, that they would have spent almost $2 million on Shattenkirk.
I would think so, but I think they also felt like they really needed this, and you're not going to get anybody for 1.75. I mean, that's like a real deal and a half, honestly, at Shattenkirk's level. I mean, if he's a UFA, Shattenkirk, just a flat out UFA. I mean, he was obviously a UFA here, but if he was a UFA who was looking for the most money he could possibly get in a long-term deal, because he didn't just get bought out and pick up a whole bunch of money at the same time. Like when you get bought out, the big thing is you've made a lot of money right off the bat. And then you can sign for less elsewhere to make more in the future. Where if Shattenkirk was just coming and entering into a UFA thing, I think he probably would have gotten more than this in a normal situation if he wanted to. Like if Shattenkirk wanted to wait and go someplace else, he probably would have been at 2.5 or maybe even 3. But for 1 year, 1.75, that's a great thing. The progress between Esmir asked there, the progress between Point and Tampa is really unknown. I mean, they really have been completely.
Uh-oh. Okay, Ak, we lost your audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. Sorry. I hit that button accidentally. The progress is unknown, and even though this is not an Yzerman regime anymore in Tampa, Tampa's always been very quiet about stuff like this, and this makes sense that they are going to not tell us anything that's going on with Braden Point.
The one interesting thing, though, is, and like last week we had heard something to the effect of that teams are not waiting around for the Leafs and Marner, that but the agents for these players, for Tkachuk, for Point, for Rantanen, they're still waiting on the Leafs and Marner to sort of set the market.
Yeah.
And if they're doing that, I mean, are they really going to wait until the end of training camp and early October?
We are coming up with
everybody, just because somebody jumped off the ledge, everybody else is going to do the same thing. I mean, I think that's really stupid.
We are definitely coming to the point where we are going to have like a constitutional crisis in the NHL. I mean, we are really at a spot where there are so many players not signed and so many people just waiting for the next thing to happen that it's going to be an issue at some point. It's going to hit the fan.
Well, let me ask everybody here, because I heard one suggestion, and this would be an accommodation made by the owners in a new CBA. What if out of an ELC you can offer arbitration right away? That it's not a 2, because right now it's 3 years ELC, and then the next 2 years are non-arbitration, and then years 6 and 7 before UFA are arbitration eligible. What happens if you offer arbitration right away in year 4?
It's going to be really hard. It's going to be hard to get that through.
It is.
I mean, because it
would solve this problem.
It would push it back a couple years, is all it would do. Like, because arbitration usually like a 1 or 2 year hearing, so 1 or 2 year decision, right? So it really only pushes it back, which I don't think would help this problem very much, because if you push it back, it even gets scarier because you're getting closer to UFA status. At that point, I don't know. I mean, at that point, teams are going to be terrified. I don't think it's going to matter. I think the one thing they can do to make this work is, like I've said before, fix the compensation of offer sheets. And I'm not to try to get more players offer sheeted, but just to make teams have to actually
see. That's the one thing. That's the one thing the owners won't do, because then it'll promote offer sheets from happening. It'll make it more common. They don't want it more common.
They did that. Well, it depends if you have a player, and if you have the player, you don't have a player. Like you talk to some people, they're like, "Oh man, I wish we could. I wish it was easy to offer sheet." There's some of these guys out there we'd love to have, but we can't offer sheet them. If you have them, you hate it. If you don't have them, you would want it to be changed, right?
So, and inherently, since the NHL is populated by more conservative owners, I think that they would never go for that. Whereas I think they would go for arbitration because it's controllable, because at least you get the player signed to a deal. Now, Adam here in the chat, I posted up there, the Leafs might not be in a hurry, but the Avalanche, the Flames, the Canucks all want their RFAs done. Well, at a certain, and that's the thing I think the Leafs are waiting for. I think they're hoping that Rantanen, that Point, that Tkachuk, that Besser gets signed, because then they can use those as comparables to Marner, because based on what James Myrtle reported last week in The Athletic, the Leafs offered an 8-year max deal of $10 million a year. The Marner camp came back with, we want what Matthews had, 5 years, 11.6 million. The Leafs said, well, we could do a 3-year bridge. And then the Marner camp basically said, 3-year bridge at $10 million, the same amount that you were offering in an 8-year deal.
Which would have been the highest bridge in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
Double the highest bridge with Kucherov's deal, a little less than 5. Okay, Darren Ferris is in fantasy land. The whole point of a 3-year bridge is to get a lesser cap hit, not the same cap hit that the team was going to offer for 8 years. So that that's where the impasse is. I think it's going to end up being a 3-year bridge, but it's going to be in like the 8.5 range if it's a 3-year deal. There's no way he's getting paid $10 million on a 3-year deal. No way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I don't see that either. I mean, I honestly think that it's pretty crazy that he turned down $80 million over 10 years, or $80 million over 8 years. To be honest, I mean, if I'm Marner, I mean that's a hell of a contract. I mean, like let's just put it in reality. You are not Austin Matthews, and you're still a great player. But my gosh, if you can get $10 million for 8 years, when was the last time a player was upset with a contract that paid them $10 million a year? Like when was that? When does it go down the line and say, man, I really could have done better. I wish I had done better than $10 million a year. That just doesn't happen.
I know. They're looking at it like, hey, what if you get injured? I get it, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about this much money. I mean, there shouldn't be an issue. And
it shouldn't be an issue.
And I really kind of felt bad for Kyle Dubas when he was at the World Junior Summer Showcase talking about this and sort of like smirking and smiling awkwardly, because like even he knows, he goes, look, the one thing he said that was weird, I'll be optimistic till the end. The problem is we don't know if the end will be a signed agreement or a holdout.
I think that's a great quote. That's a really great quote. Think about that. Like, just think about what that means. Like, I mean, in my life, I'm going to also be optimistic until the end.
Right.
At which point I won't be anymore.
What he's saying is he's going to be optimistic until he has no other choice other than to trade him. I mean, in the end, the Leafs still have the leverage here.
They do.
Because no team is offer sheeting him. No one.
I know, and the fact, and because they'll pay whatever any other team does offer sheet them, which is like the crazy. I mean, these teams should just work it out. Like Calgary should work. Calgary offer sheets Marner, the Leafs offer sheet Tkachuk, and just get all these contracts out of the way. Like figure it out. Like okay.
The problem is that
everybody matches. No, everybody's going to match. In my scenario, everybody's going to match.
Will not agree to an offer sheet that doesn't fit exactly what they want. Which is
I know they'll get exactly what they want out of Calgary, and Calgary would get exactly what they want out of Tkachuk, and everything. Tkachuk.
But just figure it all out. Heck, the problem is they're all at different places in the cap. All these guys are asking for different bonuses.
Oh, I know.
Different upfront money, different contracts that are good through the potential lockout. Like all these things that's why they're all different. God, I mean, that you just brought up another thing that really makes me furious, and everybody in the NHL should be furious about this concept of getting paid of lockout proofing contracts, because that should be something that makes every fan furious. Okay, because remember that what that means is that
survive.
Yeah, is that like, because what you hope to end a lockout is like is the pressure that players are losing money, right? That's so the fact that once the big players are making money, even if they aren't playing, oh gosh, I don't know. That to me, that's absolutely nuts.
Hey,
I don't know.
While I talked about it for a sec, let's talk about for a minute the World Junior Summer Showcase. I watched a fair amount. I still have a lot on the DVR to watch. I didn't watch every game.
Yeah, I've been watching a little bit of it.
But I want to say there were three guys that I'd like to talk about real quick. First one's Joel Farabee. If people watch the game, especially the final game against Canada, you could see where I was talking about where I feel like he's got the edge on Morgan Frost because he's just physically stronger and he's a little harder to hold back when he's around the goal mouth, where Frost isn't there yet. Frost may have a higher ceiling. I don't disagree with that. But Farabee is there right now because when you play college, you can work out 3 days a week. That's what he did last year. And so he's used to playing against 20, 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
It has helped him just get that little bit of edge and he's a natural winger. So again, I feel like he just has a little bit of an edge right now that I don't know if Frost can make up over the summer going into camp.
That's what I've been hearing a little bit from people who, got to see more of the camp and watching it. I agree with you. That seems to be the general take on this, that Farabee is a little bit further ahead, and Frost, everybody know, and these aren't people like dumping on Frost. They just say that Farabee's really looking good. Like Farabee's picked up his thing. Farabee was the guy that they picked up in the trade with the Maple Leafs, right? Is that correct?
No. They drafted him.
No, I know they drafted him, but didn't they get that draft pick from the Maple Leafs?
They did get it, not from the Maple Leafs. They did.
I swear it's.
They made it up.
You know what I'm talking about? That trade they made with the Leafs for the first round where they moved up or moved down or something. I forget.
That was Konechny.
That was Konechny. Okay, all right, never mind. That was Konechny. Yeah. Okay. So Farabee, he's everybody is just raving about the guy, and I was watching today the what is the Wayne Gretzky Helenka tournament that's going on right now?
That's one that's going on right now in the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
That goes on every year. It used to just be called the Ivan Helenka. That's all.
Right. And it is the funniest. It is got to be like the crazy least attended event I've ever seen. Like I'm watching the crowd. Like, there are more people calling the game than watching the game. Like there's more people. The TSN has more people there actually, doing the game than actually are paying attendance. There's nobody in this arena. There's nobody in the stadium. I mean, today, and the Canadians just destroyed the Finns this morning. But that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's par for the course. I mean, unfortunately, it does happen, and it's because it's early in the season. During the week, people are working. Over the weekend, you'll get better attended games. Depending on who's in the finals, they always have things that fall on the weekends. World Junior Summer Showcase wasn't packing them in either, and they charge $5 tickets. But again, these are developmental games, so if the fans want to go, you get treated to some really great young talent. They're not caring as much about making money on these games because they're subsidized by the IHF, and so that's that all works out in the wash.
So these are just like
they're preliminary tournaments, basically.
Yeah, the preliminary tournaments to get yourself together for the World Juniors tournament.
Where they make money is off the NHL teams because all the scouts pay.
That's right. I bet there are more NHL people there than actual fans.
Right. I mean, Babcock and Kyle Dubas were there for the Leafs on the weekend.
And then they probably went right to the Czech Republic right after.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Right. Probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't.
During the broadcast, though, they said that
I was going to say. Okay. But I'm sure they don't share a hotel room. I'm pretty sure of
that.
Well, they
were talking about Yager's team. Like Yager's bought a team and he's going to play, right? Yager's bought a team and he's going to play over there. And they said that he is 20 kilos overweight, which is equivalent of being 50 pounds overweight. And he's going to play for this team that he bought. That is just, think about that. That's just sad. That's really crazy.
But again, the pace is slow and he'll just set up in front of the net. Mike, what were you going to say from before?
The Babcock and Dubas were wearing the same jackets. So some camaraderie. But one thing that was interesting, and it's going to possibly be reflected during the season, is that and Dubas made some comments about Marner, like you said, and he really didn't have everything new to say. But he did talk about two of his big prospects, which were Timothy Liljegren and Rasmus Sandin, and he essentially said that these guys have a really good chance of making the team this year, which sort of flew in the face of what a lot of people thought, because they brought in a lot of sort of veteran bottom pairing guys, guys like Kevin Gravel, and got Ben Harper in the trade. But I think it shows the quality of those bottom pairing guys. If these guys are ready, if they're ready to step in, then I think that they're going to get a chance. But I'll tell you, and Russ, I mean, I know that you poo-pooed a little bit, but a lot of people were excited about Nick Robertson, the Leafs' second-round pick. That the way he played at the showcase, that he was very impressive and very speedy and skilled. And
see, and that's the thing. I don't poo-poo him. What I say is what I've continued to say about him is he hasn't finished. He doesn't have a lot of finish in his game in tournament play, and I don't think he had a lot of finish in that tournament. I didn't see every game yet, so I don't know how many goals he may have scored. But when I was watching him, he didn't score. So, I can't get overly crazy about a guy just for looking fast, gaining the zone. Like, if you're going to be like a top flight one of these guys, then you have to be like Farabee and some of the other guys and score some goals.
I just think he went a long way toward making Team USA for the World Junior with the performance that he had, because he was, I mean, not only Toronto-centric people, but other people that we know had commented that he played really well. But let me switch to the same.
I have two other players, though.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Toni Uutinen is a defenseman for Finland. I talked about him when he got drafted. He got drafted in the 5th round. I had seen him a couple of years ago at the Five Nations tournament, liked him, spoke to some guys, I actually gave a few guys in Canada some information on him because they wanted to write about him a couple of years ago. And he has really picked it up. Like, he scored a couple of goals in one game. His speed is there. The shot's there, whether it's a wrist shot or a one-timer, the power play. They got him in the 5th round, and he looks like a guy that might be able to play like second power play in the NHL behind like Quinn Hughes, So that's something where, again, people want to bag on Vancouver for the trades, but their drafting has been so good that, you know what, it really does sort of level out.
No, it really does. I mean, that when you can get a guy like that at that point, it's really impressive.
The last one I want to talk about is Cole Caulfield. I wrote about him on Sportsology, and he definitely scored, but it was more than that. People could actually see now that he had speed. His passing ability was great. His hockey IQ was great. He got hit in the mouth again and stayed on the bench. So all these other things that were going into the draft that were sort of like negative and question marks and everything, even though the kid scored 72 goals, I go back to DeBrincat and I laugh. Now, again, he didn't fall as far as DeBrincat, but this guy has done it at every level in every one of these big tournaments like DeBrincat did. And DeBrincat eventually proved himself after all the naysaying. And I'm telling you, Cole Caulfield will do the same. And Montreal got a steal here.
They really did. And they got like what I like about it too is they got like a Montreal type of player. The Canadian fans will just adore. Like they'll love this guy because of his speed and quickness, and just like that they're all about super highly skilled, quick players. I mean, that's what they've always been about. I mean, back to to the pocket rockets and the Rockets. Well, this is right up Montreal's level. I mean, Caulfield, and he, and as tough as it is for Caulfield to like sit there and wait, and the hardest thing had to be just sitting and waiting. At the end of the day, he's going to look back and he's going to realize he was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, which is like a really exciting thing to have to happen to you. I mean, you're going to a place that's going to be incredibly fun to play.
Yeah, I mean, he'll play where Mike Komisarek did. But
following in such great footsteps as Dale Weiss and Mike Komisarek.
But I did also want to say, if people check out the article, in there is a video of Cole Caulfield. The Canadians had tweeted this out of when he was 3 years old shooting a one-timer. Like I think he was
3 years old.
It's 3 or 4 years old, and he's not on the ice. He's in the living room, and he's shooting a one-timer, and you could see the shooting motion is amazing. The only thing I've ever seen that's close to this is like Wayne Gretzky when he was young, or Tiger Woods when he was young.
Yeah, I was going to say, and even at 3 years old, he had a better one-timer than Martin Marincin.
Completely natural looking. It's really amazing.
Now, let's just talk about a couple settlements in terms of arbitration. Both Buffalo Sabres, they got Allmark. Okay, they got Allmark back. Got Allmark signed for a year at, I think it was $1.35 million. So it was actually closer to the $800,000 that the Sabres offered him in arbitration, and not as close to I think it was 2.5. They didn't meet in the middle, but he got a little more. I mean, I thought it was ridiculous that they offered him $100,000 over minimum when the guy played over 20 games as a starter.
Win for him.
Yeah. The other one was Jake McCabe.
The thing about Allmark is now this 1 year deal is not what you want if you're a young goalie. So
it's a prove it. It's a prove it year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He doesn't prove it, he's gone.
Well, I mean, I think he's gone when okay. First of all, if he doesn't prove himself, he's gone when they think Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is ready.
Which could be next year.
You think after 1 year in the AHL?
Could be. He's really advanced. So
that's a great name too. Puka
yeah,
Pekka.
he is coming off the hip surgery, Russ. So that is right. So it may take him like a half a season to really get back into the swing of things. The other signing was Jake McCabe, 2 years, 2.85, I believe it was. 2.85 million. And this is the thing: the Sabres are over the cap right now. The Sabres, now they're going to be able to put guys like Bogosian on LTIR at the beginning of the season because that's where he belongs. But their problem is that they got a lot of players who are making like a 1.6, 1 point, like, Johan Larsson, Zemgus Girgensons, guys who I didn't think they were going to bring back because they simply didn't have really good years. And, they added players for draft picks, added players in free agency. They didn't subtract. They didn't trade away anybody. And maybe that's coming up, and that's where we continue to hear from like a lot of the people in Buffalo about Ristolainen trade. But I don't know.
There's a lot of names being thrown out there, and they do feel like they're being held up by the RFA market to a degree, but which is strange because the RFA market shouldn't usually infringe on it. But what am I looking over? Impinge on it? It's early. Yeah, thank you. It's early Monday.
Impinge or infringe? Infringe,
I would say. It shouldn't, but it sometimes does. And and right now I think you're seeing a little bit of that. There's still a lot of like minor moves that are going to get done here. It's never felt this when you look at the teams. You're trying to I'm starting to do my team previews and stuff like that. I'm going through it. It's hard to do because you're like, this can't be the way this team's going to look. This is not possible. Like they've got to have other things up in mind here. This just doesn't feel right.
I agree. I have a complaint on the show, by the way.
Okay.
The complaint is, why are both of your names in uppercase and mine is a lowercase name?
You entered it that way.
You didn't type it in that way.
I typed in uppercase. You're telling me I typed in lowercase? No.
Yeah, you typed in lowercase.
No, you have to type in with the capital.
I think what we should do there, what you guys should do there, is actually put your Twitter names probably.
That's true. We'll have to do that next time.
Because then we can actually have like a.
So everybody's gonna call you Sportsology.
I think it flips me back. I'm telling you, I put it in uppercase. All right.
I don't think you did. I'm gonna get you. I'll get you that password too, Russ. Okay, so the other thing is, I did a blog yesterday, and I got a lot of people talking about it, and I thought this would be a good time to bring it up.
Is this the Line one?
No, not the Line. We'll get to that next. The one yesterday was who is closer to the playoffs right now, the Rangers or the Devils? And I think that when I was looking at the teams, because I always look at the three New York market teams, the Rangers, Islanders, Devils. You kind of always put them together in your head, and it's amazing. Like there's never been a year. An off season that I can remember where two of them did more than the Rangers and Devils have done. Like the Rangers and Devils have really completely, improved themselves in massive ways.
It's true.
The Rangers, obviously Panarin is the big one, but when you think about Panarin and Kakko, you're probably added your two best forwards. And
Zibanejad really has been great, but you might be right.
I think you just added your Gretzky and Curry. Basically, you added your two guys, and then you add Trouba to that situation as well. And I'm fine with Shattenkirk leaving, but then stepping to the Devils, I mean, beyond Hughes, which is obviously a good Gusev, which is a great pick. Gusev's a subtly really good pickup, and then PK Subban, Wayne Simmons. Wayne Simmons will throw out there as another, who could add something, but those three, Hughes, Gusev, and Subban.
Well, I think the determining factor of which one's further ahead is the fact that we don't know what Mackenzie Blackwood is in goal for the Devils, and we do know that Lundqvist is still very solid, and they have Georgiev, who could play probably up to 30 games this year because he played so well down the stretch for the Rangers. They're improved on defense, not only Trouba but Fox, adding Fox to that mix, and the forwards that you both mentioned. So I like what the Devils have done. I think they've improved, but I'm still questioning about their goaltending. All I know is I heard Mike Harrington from the Buffalo News this morning on Buffalo Radio, and he basically said the thing that Sabres fans should be pissed off about is the fact that the three teams that may have improved the most in the NHL this year are all Eastern Conference teams that were on the bubble: New Jersey, New York, and Florida.
Yeah,
and
they all did, and
way behind them.
No, he's right. I will say this about the two teams. I think the Rangers do have the edge because of the goaltending. There's also a subtle edge the Rangers could have. Fox and Ryan Lindgren paired together in USA Hockey. So if they're both ready, like I think they are, like Fox is more ready than Lindgren, but I think Lindgren could handle it. If that's the case, they just got themselves a pairing too, a bottom pairing that adds a lot because at least they're good skaters and good puck movers. And the defense, I think, will be good enough. Their goaltending is a lot better than the Devils. The Devils' goaltending does have to prove itself.
Yeah.
Or at least, hey, if Lundqvist isn't good, Georgiev has proved that he can come in and get 4 saves if he has to. And then you got to remember, Flesh Yorkins will probably be in the AHL. What if he lights it up and all of a sudden there's an injury? They could bring him up. Like, they just have more goalie depth than
they really do, and that's going to be huge in this conference, in the conference making the playoffs, stuff like that. But but the defense, the center depth, like we have it in the chat room. Someone just mentioned it in the chat room that the Devils have Heischer, Hughes, Zajac, and Zacha as their centers. That's really something. I mean, that's impressive. There aren't that many teams that have 4 centers like that in the NHL.
Yeah, but I don't think they're as strong on the wing.
I mean, is Zacha really going to play center though? Because he's played wing too.
He'll probably play wing because you don't want a guy like that playing 4th line minutes, but they have that, there's no question that's an enormous pickup. So the other thing so who do you think, Russ, is more likely to make the playoffs? Do you think the Rangers? Because if
I had to say it today, I think the Rangers. But what I think the beauty of all of this is that these two fan bases already, since the draft, hate each other as much as the 90s.
Yeah, and it's been crying out for this to happen because the Rangers and Devils fans are two of the more active online presences. So you can tell that they're loving the trash talking on Twitter back and forth that's going on, and there's a lot of craziness there. So
they hate each other right now.
Oh yeah, they do, and that's gonna be, and the Islanders, who the both of them hate the Islanders. That's going to be fun too.
I'm kind of lost in it right now. The Flyers are kind of lost in the rivalry aspect of all this right now. They are.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to watch Panarin and Capo play together. I mean, that to me.
I don't know how much inside info you have.
Yeah.
The other day, I saw a baby Gritty plush doll, and I have to say, I've never seen the existence of like a son of Gritty, like Son of Kong.
No, help us.
I don't think it exists.
It's reproducing.
I need to ask you, does this exist in the world? Like, are we going to be?
I was
pretty this year.
Oh my God. I hope I can only pray. Like I saw in Philadelphia Magazine, like the Best of Philly. I interned at Philadelphia Magazine a long time ago. It was part of the Best of Philly episode and stuff like that. And to see Gritty as like the front page Best of Philly thing was just like so disturbing.
Notes was quickly bad.
What is it with the dysfunction of Philadelphia when it comes to mascots? Apparently, the Philly Fanatic or the owners they're suing the Phillies for basically they want to make the Philly Fanatic a free agent. So what is he going to do? Is he going to sign an offer sheet with the friggin' Mets?
I think Fanatics should be able to be UFAs at some point. All at mascots.
but the Phillies are trying to retain the rights. This happened a long time ago to the San Diego Chicken when he was with the Padres and the San Diego Padres, and they sued him. And there's a YouTube special on it. You can watch it. It's really great. They sued him. He won the lawsuit, and then he became a free agent. And if you remember, after that, he was just the Chicken, and then he went around. But the interesting thing about him was, and I don't think this will ever happen with Gritty, the Atlanta Braves tried to trade a player, a backup catcher, for the San Diego Chicken. They actually, the GM called the Padres GM and tried to make a trade, and then the Padres said, we don't own him. He actually, because at the time he was working with a radio station. That's actually who we sued, not the Padres. It was the radio station. The radio station owned the rights for the Chicken. So he said, I can't trade him because I don't even own him. And then apparently they invited the Chicken out to Atlanta, and Ted Turner made him $100,000 offer to go to Atlanta while he was still in San Diego, and he turned it down.
I heard the GM of the Phillies and Lou Lamoriello are discussing a 1-for-1 trade. It's the Honda Ridgeline truck for the Philly Fanatic.
There you go. The one that Wayne Simmons won is the MVP of the All-Star game.
You could trade the Devil's mascot, the Devil, and I'll tell you, you would have to really, in order to get Gritty, right, you would have to trade like the Devil. You would have to trade like who's the bear, Carlton, and it would have to be like a 3-for-1 mascot deal.
Yeah, and maybe Stan Fischler. And then you could probably get it. By the way, there's in the chat room, that person typing as Polyeklund is not me. That is Mike.
No, I said it was me.
You did? Okay. You signed into my account, so I just want to make sure people know that.
It was me. Don't worry. Like, I'm full disclosure because
it's not me.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
When you see insightful commentary, of course it's me.
No, I'm like looking at that. I'm like, wait a second. You know, and then there is no truth to the fact that the Sabres have offer sheeted Yuppie. That's not going to happen. But you know, I think we should give mascots a chance to test the markets out there once in a while. I mean, why not? All right, moving back to hockey for a second.
Yeah, talk about this Line A thing.
Line A, yeah. So the Line A in Montreal stuff will not go away, has not gone away. Keeps, like, every time I try to put it away, someone else will call me up about it. And it's really gotten down to the point now where it feels like the Canadians have a decision to make, and that is they're going to have to put Domi into this trade to make it happen. It's Max Domi, which isn't surprising, right? I mean, it should
How could you not be in it if you're trading for Line A?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you know what this is a reflection of? That Jonathan Drouin does not have as much value as you may think. Because everybody would assume that it would be Drouin,
right?
And it's not.
Yeah.
And after one really great year, because Domi had a good year here or there with Arizona, but he had a great year with Montreal.
But Domi also has a connection to Winnipeg, right? So that's the other thing. So
there's a connection to Winnipeg. There's also, they probably don't want Kotkaniemi because he's still developing, and Winnipeg is a cup team, so they want fuller developed players too. Yeah,
I also think that the whole purpose of getting Line A, because you've got that sort of Finnish mafia with the Canadians right now, with Kotkaniemi, with what's his hold on, I'm just drawing. With Joel Armia, they there's another couple Finns.
We've always had
Arturi Lehkonen. They have this young core group of Finnish players, and I think they want to build around that. And I think the whole purpose of getting Line A is maybe eventually to play with Kotkaniemi.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. I think though, that from Montreal to, I put it out there to fans in my blog is, would you do this? Are you okay with them getting, Line A for Max Domi plus something else, obviously?
A lot of else.
Yeah.
And look at it this way.
Montreal fans, though, to their, what they are, which has always been, and I'd say to their credit, they do love their players more than almost anybody else. And they weren't okay with trading Domi. and they really are. Domi has already imprinted himself on that fan base.
No, but look at it this way: Domi has another year at 3.1 million, and then he's arbitration eligible. So that is a perfect fit for what the Jets are looking for, and they can basically have him under control for at least a couple years before he looks for big money. So that that would help them probably get Connor signed long term. I just don't know if they really if they're that anxious to trade a guy who has scored as many goals as he has in his first 3 years as an NHLer.
I don't think they're anxious. I think this is leverage. I think they're putting a trade out there to show Line A, hey, you better get moving, because we're not going to wait all year for you. We have cup aspirations with or without you. I also think that Winnipeg could slide Brian Little back in this Montreal deal too.
Yeah,
he's got no move.
Well, he might want to go there though.
Go to Montreal though,
and it'll be a way to help them out of their future cap mess too.
It'll be interesting to get Peter's perspective later in the week when we have him on the show.
Yeah, Little is very underrated.
He's getting older. He is underrated, but
he's getting older. I agree with you, but and he's been such a. I mean, he is one of the few guys that was a thrasher, right? That actually, but yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that I think I would be a great fit for Montreal, but I would be a hard one. Something if I'm Winnipeg, I think about it a little bit, because that's a tough one.
Asmir asks how much pressure is on Cheveldayoff regarding the Line A mess.
Tons of pressure. Everything basically.
It's double the fun because they got 2 RFAs.
Yeah. No, I mean they are really in a bind.
Everything up.
Yeah, but Cheveldayoff is not a guy who likes to be pressured. Nor is he a guy who wants to make moves quickly, or and it's so. But to me, it's funny. I talked to somebody and I had this whole debate with them, and it's bringing up this fight I had. So I was talking to somebody in Winnipeg, and I said, Cheveldayoff doesn't like this kind of thing, and he's like, this is what he was saying. He was like, Cheveldayoff doesn't like this. His personality. He wants to do things very, and I'm like, but he's known this is kind of this is not a surprise. This is not out of nowhere. This Patrick Laine contract. It's absolutely 100% something that they knew was going to happen. It shouldn't be something that is he feels like he's being rushed to do at this point. It feels like it should be something that he would have had plan A, B, and C for, and it's just a matter of which way you're going to go.
There's a lot of Finns and their agents like Jesse Puljujarvi who are very contentious in this offseason. But going with Line A, if this were to be a holdout in season, I think the fans would mutiny, and I also think the team would really be in trouble because he is their main cog, and he's obviously subject to streakiness and pressure. I mean, sure.
And that to me is another thing that this is not the kind of guy you want to have more pressure on him.
No, but this was one of the better power plays in the league, right? If they start the season without Patrick Laine, that power play goes down a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But he didn't do much last year after a certain point. He was really bad.
Even his shot on the power play is still a shot on the power play, right?
Yeah.
You bring up Puljujarvi in over the weekend.
Yeah.
He reiterated the fact that he's going to play in Finland. He's not going to come over until he wants to continue in North America, but he will not ever play for the Oilers again. It's a game of chicken now. It's a game between Ken Holland and Puljujarvi. I don't think he wants to go back there. I think he's seen his, most of his first couple years of his entry-level deal wasted by the Oilers, who are an absolute train wreck of an organization, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with it anymore.
What's interesting about this, and I've heard this more about him than I've heard about most players, and we usually don't even think about it, and we should probably more think about it, is, culturally, he just had a really hard time in North America. And, and that he's a kid still. He's still a young kid. And it was just really hard for him to adjust. They didn't do a good job, in Edmonton of helping him do
they
that.
Have Finns on that team? I mean,
I'm trying to think if they do, but they didn't. If they don't, they should have gotten somebody to work with him, because he really was a fish out of water from everything I was told. And when he was playing, he just didn't know what was going on. He doesn't speak languages very well, as opposed to a lot of other Finns who come over here right away and can do that. And this feels like, he probably should go back to Finland and play for a little bit.
I mean, think about this. He's had at least 3 coaches, right?
Yeah, he's had 3 coaches, right? So he's not hasn't had any of them at all.
And even as early, I mean, as recent as last year, I remember tweeting saying Puljujarvi was a real factor in this game against the Flyers early, and then all of a sudden his ice time would wane, and then before you know it, you don't see him anymore in the game. And that happened with Hitchcock too.
Yeah.
And with a young player, that is the worst thing you could do to a young player.
Yeah.
So
Well, apparently his conditioning wasn't the greatest. I mean, I heard that, and as the game would go on, he would become less effective, and coaches would see it. They would say, well, you're not able, and that was, an issue. You have to go back. The biggest thing here is, I mean, no one ever gives Jarmo Kukalainen enough credit, like for the fact that he saw this, that making because everybody thought Puljujarvi was going to go to Columbus in that draft because that was the natural thing, except, I think you actually, Russ, you said that they might not go for him.
Right.
And but everybody else is still, and they obviously made the right move.
That's why.
Yeah.
And there are two Finns on the Oilers, Mikko Koskinen and Marcus Granlund, who I think they got this year. So
Granlund they got this year, and Koskinen wasn't there the whole time either.
Yeah,
Right.
and he's a goalie, so it's a different kind of I mean, he's not going to be somebody who's going to bond with him. Like if he, I don't know what haven't covered Koskinen enough to know what his personality is. But if he's that kind of goalie, that's like
guy in the world with the money he's making.
Yeah,
well, based on how many Finns the Canadians have, why haven't the Canadians?
Yeah, teams have talked to Edmonton, and Edmonton's not. This was a high enough pick that Edmonton's willing to let it ride for a bit and see if they can get something for it.
Ken Holland just walked in there, and the worst thing he can do is dump the player, even if it might be the right thing for the player, because he'll get killed in the market. So he has to get some sort of return. So this could really turn out with just Puljujarvi playing overseas this year. It really could.
Yep.
Yeah, I could very much see it happening. The other thing I wrote about was that the Oilers had been talking to the Rangers and trying to put an offer together for Kreider.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't able to get. I was hoping to pick up more details. I wasn't able to get them. But that I think Holland's not being dormant at all. Put it that way. Like he's definitely trying to make things happen. And Kreider is one of the guys that appears that Holland has targeted. And whether or not the Rangers can make that happen, I don't know.
The only problem with that kind of trade is more than likely it's going to be a 1-year deal because there's no way Kreider is signing an extension in Edmonton. No way.
Well, we can't say no way. I mean, what if he clicks with Connor?
No way. I believe right now, who in their right mind signs a long-term deal in Edmonton?
Okay, but think about this. Let's say they work out a trade for Kreider. He goes over there and he scores 75 points with McDavid, which could easily happen.
Yep.
Now his marketability's gone way up, and Edmonton's going to be paying him $2-3 million or more a year than what he would have paid before.
Which they can't afford right now because they're right up against the cap. So that's what I'm saying.
Don't know what's going to happen in the future.
It would be a Jeff Skinner scenario where he hits it big in the year before free agency. And yes, Skinner re-signed with the Sabres, but the Sabres had lots of cap space. Edmonton doesn't. They have a lot of stupidly bad contracts where they can't afford to sign a guy unless they turn around and trade a guy like Nugent Hopkins. So
if they get another first line stud out of it, they might. The problem is, again, going back to what we said earlier in the show, I can't believe Jeff Gordon would have done all these things if he didn't think he could retain Chris Kreider. So I doubt he's really going anywhere. And that's why I don't think Holland's gotten a deal done.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think you're probably right on that one. I do. Wait, any other questions in the chat room we can get to here before we get out of here?
Okay, guys, ask some questions in the chat. Let me
feel free to ask some questions, and we'll try to get to them.
Are they getting nicer to you now, Mike? Now knowing that you're the hand on the chat room.
Esmir asked, "What do you think about Yzerman's approach in Detroit?" I think his approach is we're tanking. But he's just not going to say we're tanking because he's got a lot of bad contracts on that team. He's got some good young players. He's got, Larkin and Athena Cu and Mantha and Tyler Bertuzzi. They're bad on defense. They've got 3 33-year-old or older defensemen in the last year of their contract. They got a lot of bad forward contracts like Abdelkader and Glenn Denning and Darren Helm. He's going to be a big seller at the deadline, trying to get rid of those guys and clear that organization. And some of these young guys, and Russ, you can talk more about their prospects, but guys like Chalowski and Moritz Seder and Zadina and Veleno are going to get opportunities sooner than later because they're so barren of young prospects to go into the NHL. I think those guys will get an opportunity quicker.
Yeah, Veleno's looked great in the World Junior Summer Showcase, so he might get a chance to actually make the team. I think you're right. I do think they are tanking. They're not saying it. I think they've looked at things and realized they can't really compete this year. That's why he said 3 to 5 years when he had his press conference.
Yeah.
He's doing it the right way. That's the smart approach. Detroit fans may not love it at this point, but they've got no point. They've got nothing they can do about it. Mike Green's another guy that they'll move out too, Mike. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I do think Ken Holland was doing a good job there, so I think that there is some good young players.
And
Holland started the rebuild. We're giving him credit for that, but it's just in its first few chapters. I mean, they've got a lot of dead weight to clear out.
Yeah, they'll shoot for Lafreniere.
Yes. TG9024 asking, will Roman Josi get an extension before the season starts? If so, for how much?
I don't think it happens before the season starts. I'm talking to people down there, but I think it will happen for sure. He's not going to go to free agency or anything like that. But there's no real rush either. And I think Josi has a very, very good relationship with Poile. So it's in all likelihood, Poile said, listen, if I extend you right now, then people kind of know what I'm dealing with cap wise, and then it makes it harder for me to make moves. So
it could happen right after the season.
Yeah, I think he'd rather or even after the trade deadline. I think just give him it gives Poile the most manipulating abilities. And Poile does like to not manipulate, but likes to get the upper hand, so he doesn't want to give away any of his cards. And signing Josi is giving away a pretty big card, honestly.
Yeah, but I think they're going to get it done, especially after they traded Subban.
They'll get it done,
yeah.
And Josi knows that. They probably already know what number it is, but I just think they won't even. I don't think there's any point in announcing it right now because or even putting it into the situation of saying it. And
remember, Tennessee's another one of those no tax states, so that's going to be a factor.
Yeah.
Adam Diller asks, who's in a better position 4 years after the 2015 draft, Edmonton or Buffalo? Obviously, Edmonton got McDavid and Buffalo got Eichel. Well, they're both train wrecks of organizations, but I think because McDavid's the better player, Edmonton's in a better position.
I think that Mike is going a little far out by saying they're both train wrecks of organizations. I'll throw that.
Well, I mean, you can't say they're a train wreck anymore because we don't know what Ken Holland will do with them. So I don't say that either. But I will say this: with Pekka Luukkonen on the horizon now for Buffalo, that's something Edmonton doesn't have. They don't have a goalie. They don't have a goalie of the future. They don't have a goalie of the current. They don't have any good goalies there. So right now, I am going to go with Buffalo. And since Mike did bring up Jack Eichel, we should quickly mention the top 20 centers list that was a train wreck for NHL.com because the other day, we talked about it the other day, and then we couldn't do it on Friday. But I said the other day when I read
tomorrow, but okay.
I know, but when I read the article and I saw that producers were going to have a part in this, and then they were basically hinting in that article that Sean Couturier was not a top 20 center, which I laughed at.
Yeah.
This list was like, you know what it is? This list was like, who has the best highlights? Because that's who we're going to put in this list. And
they didn't put Russ. They didn't even put out a list. They put out a highlight package, like 3 seconds of each.
Yeah, I hate these kind of things. I mean, they're always fun to talk about, and they're good. They're good for us as far as your content goes. But I hate these kind of lists so much.
This was a report job. That's what this was.
Yeah.
At least it didn't make you go page to page like Bleacher Report does, where you have to hit the arrow 25 times.
I had egregious ones, and I don't have them all memorized. But Jack Eichel at 15, really? Who is he with? He had like 80 points, right? What do you have? 82 points? Who said something like that?
Well, I think more than that, but yeah.
I mean, like, how do you have Jack Eichel 15? Seriously?
Yeah. At this point right now, you can't do that.
Couturier outside the top 20. I don't get that.
How? Because Sean Couturier does not have exciting highlights. You will never find an exciting highlight of Sean Couturier, but that doesn't lessen the kind of player he is and how good he is and how much better he is than some of those centers in the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Couturier has one really, I remember one really memorable, exciting highlight from last year, I think it was, when he scored like that overtime goal or tied the game and scored the overtime goal. I forget what game it was. And the funny thing about Couturier is when he got drafted, he was like a highlight package. Remember, like from his junior stuff, when you saw the stuff he did in juniors, he was like a breakaway machine, had all kinds of great stuff on YouTube. But then became like a defensive center, and that's
now. Bergeron was like 7. Like, come on, it was just bad. Like, I don't go too much further with it, but one of those things where I can't even give him credit because we're talking about it because it was just bad.
And now this question, CJ Tartan asking, wild prospects Kaprizov and Boldy make the team next year? Well, Kaprizov's going to be in the KHL next year, so he's not gonna make the team. And Boldy's 18 years old, so he's not going to make the team either. But they're both great prospects.
Yeah, they really are. If they were to make the team next year, Kaprizov would be a top liner, and Boldy would probably be a second liner. But again, Boldy, and I've seen Boldy in some games where his skating and his passing, where it was just phenomenal. Like, he was just like an assist machine. But Boldy also has an edge to him. Give him a little time. I think he's 2 to 3 away. Kaprizov could play right away. If they could ever come to terms with him, he would play right away. He'd score 30, 35 goals in this league. Like, that's just how good Kaprizov is.
Yeah.
He's their best prospect, but he's not good.
Yeah. And we will get more into the Wild GM search as that goes on too. But it seems like it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
It seems like they're gonna interview everybody that's ever wanted to be interviewed by anybody.
Yeah, Scott Mellenby was the latest over the weekend that they got permission to, or at least they were asking for permission. And if you want an inside look at what happened, read Mike Russo's piece in The Athletic, because he did not pull any punches.
Yeah, that article was pretty controversial among people I talked to. It was Russo's taking down of Fenton essentially, and it was fascinating. It was great journalism for sure. Yeah. It's one of those things. I don't know if I would have written it. Just right. I have huge respect for Russo. So my guess is he was getting those from very good sources and had to write it pretty much. Sure. So people who wanted that stuff out there, because it was a lot more than you usually see out there about a lot of personal stuff and stuff like that went out along. So it is a fascinating. It does give you a lot of insight into what we've tried to talk about here before, which is that there's always so much more going on than you realize, and there's always trades that are happening that don't happen, like the rumors we talk about, that never happen, and people are like, oh, that was never a lot of them were really discussed. Honestly, it's not like a matter of me like saying, like, this Kreider and Edmonton thing, I can tell you flat out it's happened that Edmonton made a pitch for Kreider. Whether or not that ever occurs or not, whether or not is another idea altogether. Whether or not the Rangers said no way, no right away, it's possible. I don't have the more information on it, but it did happen. So it's like when you read that article that Russo put together out there, it's definitely, it tells you a lot. There's a lot of stuff in there that happened, that almost happened.
The only guy they're not going to interview is Mike Milberg.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the wild card in this, the wild card in the Minnesota thing is how much influence will Mike Modano have on this process, I think, because
I find to be a little irregular because he doesn't have management experience. He has hockey experience. He's a hockey player. He may know guys, but how does Mike Modano really know how some of these front offices work with some of these guys day to day? That is my issue.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that Mike Modano I think Mellenby has a lot to do with the Modano aspect of things. So there are some players, there are some people that are coming in to interview that are connected to Modano. So that, and then there are some people that they interviewed before that they might not be being interviewed again right away too. That could.
Belfort going to be next? Is he coming in for an interview?
Right. I doubt Hitchcock is running. That's for sure.
No, but Tom Fitzgerald probably will get an interview.
Yeah.
Maybe. I like Tommy a lot. I think he's a good guy. So, but I also think that there will be a hesitance on Leopold's part to go back to a Nashville thing. I think that Fitzgerald being another
fair. I mean, I
I
could.
mean, he has been stereotyped now. And even when you read that article, there's like so much Nashville stuff that's in there that you can tell that I think Leopold wants to get as far away from the Nashville situation as possible right now.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald is kind of a return to that to a degree. All right, that's all the time we have for today, folks. I hope you like the new format. We're going to keep improving it. We'll keep making it look and sound better as we go along here. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Feel free to subscribe or like or talk about us in the comments. We'll talk to you tomorrow.